This is Right to Life Radio. And now, here's your host, John DeRoe.
We've got a lot to talk about today here on Right to Life Radio. Thank you all so much for listening. A production, as always, of Right to Life of Central California. And it is the first Saturday of the month. And as always, we'd like to dedicate our first Saturdays to our stories from the Sidewalk. And joining me as every first Saturday is Linda Tehlia from Right to Life of Central California. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you again. Nothing better to do but come out and talk about great stories.
Yes, exactly. So for those who don't know, Linda is sort of the head of our Sidewalk outreach efforts at Right to Life of Central California. She directly talks with women and couples outside of the Planned Parenthood clinic in South Fresno to give them alternatives to abortion. So we do this every month. We've had a lot of really good successes at the outreach center. Really since June, a lot of really wonderful, great interactions with people who've decided to choose life for their babies. And just this past week, we had a baby shower for one of our moms.
Yeah.
And it was a kind of bizarrely wonderful event because we had the baby shower at our building that's right next to Planned Parenthood. And as the baby shower was happening, we had another mom coming by to want to talk about the possibility of deciding not to have an abortion. So why don't you share about that? It was kind of an amazing thing for me to sort of walk into and say, oh my gosh, we're celebrating this one mom who already chose life, and we got another mom in here who needs help. So
it was like looking chaotic. But I think before I even say that, I have to say that normally I come in here and we talk about what I'm going to talk about, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know.
Have a lot to talk about? Yeah.
But I have so many people, moms, that are choosing life. I mean, 12 since the beginning of June.
Right.
And I'm just going to put this out here. The only thing that changed was that I started praying every morning before I came to work.
Well, maybe that was the trick. Yeah.
And I hate when someone says maybe because
yeah. Well,
what else?
Yeah, it's effective. Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
I can't think of anything else I'm doing.
Sure.
Well, and it's not even just about me. I think it was inviting, really.
Well, and I know we've had
God
people.
in.
Yeah, and I know we have a lot of people who pray for us on a pretty darn consistent basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. There's been so much work and investment of time and energy and labor and prayer that's gone into this. I mean, on a certain level, the whole outreach center is the fruit of, I think, the prayers of 40 Days for Life, because it was literally during a 40 Days for Life, everyone's on the sidewalk praying, and I look at the building that we're standing in front of, which was vacant at the time, and I was like, maybe I could put a pro-life clinic in there. And we couldn't put a pro-life clinic in there. It's a terrible building to be a clinic, but we did find another use for it, which was to be our outreach center. So
here we are.
I think the whole thing was a fruit of prayer. Okay, so tell us about this young woman you were helping
so we're
out.
fully using this outreach building because we are having a place to bring abortion-minded moms to talk about what they have going on. It gives them a chance to be in a safe place, and also for us to show them baby models, and we keep baby items and mom items over there. So we have everything ready to go so that we we can say what we mean and mean what we say. So we were getting ready for a baby shower. That's another thing that we use the building for. We host baby showers there. So the way that it works is that we, as an organization, decided that if someone says yes to life after talking to me, that we will, if they need, provide a baby shower. And we, meaning huge outreach from the community, just supporting.
Yeah, well, it's one of these things I've noticed that as just in the nonprofit world, asking people for money for staff salaries, stuff, it's kind of hard to do. And a lot of people are very, very generous, but it's a bit of a harder ask. Asking people for stuff for
moms, I didn't know you could do that either.
Yeah,
salary can.
Asking people for stuff for moms who have chosen life. like people are tripping over themselves. Like, what do you need? Let me get it for you. So
it is just it's
yeah.
astounding.
So the outpouring of support we got for this mom that we held a baby shower for was really awesome.
Yeah.
And so I'll give briefly my vantage point. So I've got a lot of meetings that day. I want to be there for the baby shower.
Because he loves baby showers.
I'm probably not the target. I'm not the target audience for it, but yeah, I care about this person. And I want to be there. So I go there, I show up, and I see everyone there, and she's wearing a lovely dress, and she's got her, mom ribbon sash on,
which we also provided for her.
And
the
everyone's happy, and I see Linda talking with another young woman. And she seems like she's not there for a baby shower, and it's someone I've never met before. So maybe talk about her and her situation, what she was going through.
So we were just getting the building ready for the shower. A couple other staff members, and then Brittany, our volunteer, who's helping out too. And I'm standing on the sidewalk, and I talk to this mom. Well, I find out she's a mom, and I say, I'm pretty direct and say, "Are you thinking about having an abortion?" And they say, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, how about we talk about it?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we could. And then how about we talk about it in the building?
Yeah.
I got snacks. Oh, fine then.
Yeah.
But she said, "Okay, sure." Mm-hmm. And she goes, "You know what? The last time I was here
at Planned Parenthood,
yes, and I was thinking about having an abortion. You guys were out here too." Mm-hmm. So, okay. So we went in, and as we went in, we've got, a couple other people who either work here or are volunteering there, and also the guest of honor for the baby shower.
So the mom who had been in this girl's same situation.
Yeah, just like 5-6 months ago. Mm-hmm. So I introduced them, and I said, maybe you would have even better insight than I would. And so I invited her to come and sit and talk, and we just talked about things, and they were able to connect better, obviously. And one of the things that our guest of honor said was, "Hey, you know what? They do everything Linda said they would do. They have done and more." Mm-hmm. And Linda has said, "I'll do this." And the next thing I know, she's texting me and saying, "Hey, I got a job connection for you," or whatever, And so this other mom was able to see and hear, and you believe it better when you can see it. And then so she was still in here, and the guests started arriving that were going to participate in the shower, and I think we had 20-something people,
about 20,
who just came to the shower. Mm-hmm. And then, tons and tons of gifts. And so here are all these women who just want to be a part of this. I mean, you would not believe the amount of people who they just want to have a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And so here's this mom, and anybody who wanted to say something got to say something. And this new mom got to see an outpouring of love and support and truth, really. Yeah. So it's a pretty...
Yeah, well, and that's kind of the thing. One of many themes we have for our work with the Outreach Center is, and I've gotten more statistics about this. So it's actually, the number is 70% of abortions. And I finally got some research on this.
Okay.
Because I know we've talked about this all the time.
We've talked about this, and I have a feeling, but...
Yeah, 70% of abortions are against the preference of the woman having the abortion. Mm-hmm. Meaning she would rather have the baby.
Yes.
But she is feeling constrained either by financial pressures, family pressures, and in the more extreme cases, actual coercion.
Yes.
So for so many of these moms, if we can just offer them a second to think and think through the fear, talk through the fear, and also to show them that there are very loving people in the community who are going to help them out.
Yeah.
That's kind of that's all they need in a sense. And
I mean, that's all and everything. It's really what we all need. I mean, I was just, so to roll into another person who is, I'm going to say she's abortion minded. She still is. I met her day before yesterday, and she said the same thing. Last time I came here.
Yeah. It's you've been doing this a long time when we're getting repeat customers. So.
Yeah. Well, actually, so she said the last time I was here, I ended up over at Pregnancy Care Center, and they quote unquote talked me into having my baby. And so here you guys are. And I said, I'm not here to talk you into anything. I'm just here to give you a bigger perspective because, obviously you know how to make good decisions once you have an opportunity to sit down and think things through.
Yeah.
And, you probably need some support. So, anyway, so she's pregnant with her fourth. And
boy, that is a theme that we keep seeing.
I keep seeing this.
And more and more, as I read statistics about it, like it is borne out that I think a lot of people have a sense that abortions happen for 20-year-olds pregnant with their first kid. And it's not. It's very, that does happen.
Yes.
But very, very, very often it's women who are having their second or third or fourth child and are just feeling overwhelmed. And maybe they don't have great financial stability or partner stability or whatever it is, household stability.
Yeah.
I know you keep seeing that all again and again and again, and the more I read into the social science, it's borne out. Well,
so one of the things that I like to talk about with these new moms is that we all go through periods of time where we feel alone and we feel, just frustrated and discouraged. But that doesn't last forever.
Right.
But when you're in a situation and you just want to get that feeling off of you or out of you, you think by making a decision that's going to be better. And that's something to talk about. It's like, okay, so you make this decision, and what if you turn the corner tomorrow and you get that job? And that's one thing that our guest of honor at the baby shower said, she talked about things can change. And sure enough, I went home. I didn't have a job, and I went home and I had an email with a job offer.
Right.
What if I would have had an abortion
purely
today?
Because,
And that was the major factor going on. And that does happen to all of us where we're like, my life sucks and I'm not going to do anything. And then all of a sudden someone gives you a call and says, hey, can
something
you...
changes and it changes the whole trajectory of things. Yeah. And especially for, especially with moms struggling with little kids, that can be...
Sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
And the hormonal thing of ending your pregnancy.
And that's one of the sad things is...
And by ending, sorry, I wanted to say ending your pregnancy... This person that I'm talking about right now, she has a 3-month-old, and so she's barely emerging from being
she's still
pregnant, and now what?
Yeah. And that's one of the sad things is how California has put up what's called barriers to entry, so a very low barrier to entry to just getting an abortion quickly. To actually have a baby takes a long time. For most OBGYN clinics, it's a long time before you can secure care, before you can get in for your first appointment. Whereas to have an abortion,
boom, done.
Boom, boom, boom. California has so streamlined the process. There's no copay. There's no out-of-pocket cost. You can walk into Planned Parenthood. You can get set up, and you can have an abortion within a week or two. They move fast.
Well,
and for a lot of these girls, they don't want to take. They're sort of. You've talked about it with these women that it's almost like they get on this sort of like autopilot, almost like paralysis. Like they don't want to think about it. They don't want to.
That's really. I could see with this person, especially she wouldn't make eye contact, and I actually said, "Hey, look at me. Hear what I'm saying. Understand that I'm telling you the truth, and that we will help you with whatever we can." And that makes it. She kind of didn't want to even see that. And as she turned and started to look, I could see that's when she started to break down her resolve, her resolve, she's from Visalia, so she had a long time.
She'd driven all the way over.
Yeah. So her resolve was that this is it. I'm going to do this. Well, fortunately, she didn't take the abortion pill, the RU486, at their clinic.
Yeah.
She had it in a bag, and she has it in a bag. And I keep saying, like, we're in contact.
Yeah.
I'm in contact, and some other people are in contact with her.
Just
throw that thing out.
Throw that thing away.
Throw that temptation out and give yourself
and that's sort of the horrible thing about the abortion pill almost is that, I mean, Patty Lametti, who's one of our social worker who works for our Rachel's Vineyard team, has talked with us about it, and I've had her on the show before. She's talked about with the abortion pill, the fact that it's you taking it yourself, and the additional mental health harm that can sometimes come from that. And I just can't fathom the idea of having just something sitting around in your house that can.
So as you said that, I was thinking of something else, that being able to take that, thinking you have an opportunity to take that, it might be a little bit empowering. Like, I didn't
you
have
might
any
feel
power
that
over
way.
this.
Yeah.
So
perversely.
And maybe that's kind of the selling point of it is, here you go. You are empowered to do what you want, not realizing that you will also bear the burden of this is nobody else's.
Yeah, it's just me alone by myself with no shoulder to cry on, no one to help me.
Not just that, but you can't say I went into the clinic and they did it to me.
Yeah.
I just went home and I did it.
Well, and we're seeing more of that from the Britney Spears story. That she had a pill abortion.
Oh, did she? I didn't know
that's the new news is her talking about her experience of having had an abortion and the mental health harms it caused her, and Justin Timberlake pressuring her into having one. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a horrific thing. So anyway, well, Linda, prayers for you, prayers for all the women you're interacting with, especially this one young lady. And it's really wonderful. I think it's, so for all of you listening, if you want to support this work and everything we're doing at Right to Life, go to rtlcc.org. And there's the big thing for our Christmas dinner and auction. So you can click right on there and come to our auction, give in support of Right to Life. This is what your donor dollars are going to, directly saving,
salaries.
Directly saving the lives of unborn children. Thank you, Linda.
Thanks.
All right, we'll be back with Jonathan Keller for more here on Right to Life Radio. Back with Right to Life Radio, and I am joined in studio as pretty much every week by our very good friend from California Family Council, my good buddy, my radio amigo, Mr. Jonathan Keller. How's it going, Jonathan?
Man, I just flew in from D.C. and boy, are my arms tired. No.
And that's Jonathan Keller.
That's me.
Thank you very much. All right, get off the air. All right, so we've got Jonathan in. We've got a couple of pro-life sort of news stories. Sort of the national level, we've got a new Speaker of the House that Jonathan's all ramped up to talk about Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House, and I've got some thoughts on him as well. There's a big Planned Parenthood lawsuit in Texas that we are going to get to, but the first thing I want to talk about, speaking of getting your engines revved up, and I'm angry at certain Republican senators, is coming back to the issue of Tommy Tubberville, the U.S. Senator from Alabama, who has swiftly, unexpectedly become one of my and Jonathan's favorites as far as what he is doing in the Senate.
And I have to say a little mea culpa because
we ragged on him.
He did a little bit.
Yeah,
when he was running, it was kind of like,
well,
you're a former football coach. Really, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
why are you running?
So for those who don't know, Tommy Tubberville used to be the head football coach at Auburn.
That's right.
And
War Eagle.
Yeah, War Eagle. And he ran for U.S. Senate in Alabama. And it was kind of the thing of, I think if you run a cardboard box with the letter R on it, it will probably win a Senate race in Alabama against a Democrat. I didn't think he was the sharpest tool in the shed. He had one awkward interview where he said the three branches of government, the House, the Senate, and the White House. And it's like, that's not the three branches of government. It's the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. Those are the three branches.
And to be fair, he was also running, John, in that primary, for listeners. He was running against Jeff Sessions, who was trying to get this seat back.
Right. Jeff Sessions, who had been a pretty successful Alabama senator for years and years and years. So anyway, I wasn't look, and none of this is like Right to Life endorsing anyone. We're just looking at their records and what they believe and what they say.
Commentary on the past.
And especially on John Girardi's show, I wasn't too, flattering towards Tubberville. But Tommy Tubberville, over the last, what is this now, 6 months we're going on here?
I
He's
think
been
so.
doing this. Tommy Tubberville has been a genuine pro-life stalwart, and specifically on the issue of military funding for abortion.
Right.
Basically, after Roe v. Wade was overturned, the very liberal-controlled Department of Defense, under the Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, issued a policy saying that service members who live in states where abortion has been legally restricted can have the military pay them to go out of state to go get an abortion. Fly them out of state, pay for your lodging, pay for your travel, give you extra leave to go get an abortion. Now, I think there's a question whether this whole thing is even, in addition to just being bad, I think there's a very good question whether it's even legal at all, because the federal government's not supposed to directly fund abortion, and they're funding, like, not the abortion itself, but all the stuff associated with abortion. So Tommy Tubberville basically decided he was going to be a pain in the butt over this.
Mm-hmm. And John, you have to back up and say one thing on this. Mm-hmm. Some people might be saying, well, wait a second. I thought that the Democrats controlled all these seats in the Senate. They have the majority.
They have the majority in the Senate, yeah.
The thing that's interesting about the Senate, and the reason a lot of times you hear people say, well, the Senate is the saucer that cools the milk of the passions of the House. Mm-hmm. Almost nothing can actually happen in the Senate without what is called unanimous consent. Mm-hmm. Basically, you can debate everything almost to death in the Senate.
They have no restrictions on debate.
Yeah. And all it takes is one senator, in this case Tommy Tubberville, to stand up and say, I object.
We're not doing unanimous consent.
Yep.
Yeah. So often what the Senate would do is the Senate has to approve promotions of officers of the United States. This includes promotions of military officers. Tommy Tubberville decided, and usually the Senate does this through unanimous consent. Here's a list of officers that we're going to promote. Does everyone agree with it? Aye. Okay. We're done. No one objects. Tommy Tubberville decided to start objecting.
Yep.
And he said, I'm going to keep objecting, and I'm going to hold this whole thing up until the military stops doing this unlawful policy. And he has stuck to his guns, and they can promote these officers if they want. Chuck Schumer just has to bring them to the floor and have to spend several hours voting on these people. And Tommy Tubberville says he's free to do that, but I'm not promoting these people. I'm not promoting these people if they're going to keep supporting this policy that I think is illegal and wrong.
Yep. Illegal and immoral. Imagine that.
And I'll wrap up this. We had kind of a long first segment, so I got to cut this short, and then we got more stories to cover. But I'm just going to say this. There have been several Republican senators now who either openly or sneakily through the grapevine have been criticizing Tubberville and saying he shouldn't be holding up, it's affecting our military readiness. No. Tommy Tubberville does not deserve 1 ounce of criticism. Mitt Romney. Tommy Tubberville does not deserve 1 word of criticism. If I hear any Republican senator saying anything negative about this man, he is on my you-know-what list for the rest of my natural life, Lindsey Graham. So, no. Tommy Tubberville standing up for life, taking heat from other Republican senators to do it. This guy is kicking butt. So anyway, Tommy Tubberville, you get the gold star at least from me and Jonathan. All right, when we return, we're going to talk about the new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. That's next on Right to Life Radio. Back with Right to Life Radio. John Girardi here with Jonathan Keller from California Family Council. By the way, for those of you listening, our Christmas dinner and auction is coming up.
Hey.
So if you want to come, if you want to donate, go to rtlcc.org, click on the invitation right there. Send us a donation, buy tickets, buy a table, send in a sponsorship, whatever you want. Proceeds are going to benefit both Right to Life of Central California and Obria, so give big. We're trying to help support two awesome organizations this year. RTLCC.org. Go help support your awesome pro-life initiatives here in the city of Fresno.
I have one comment, John, that I want to say as a totally disinterested third-party observer of the Right to Life Christmas dinner and auction.
You are not a totally disinterested observer, but go ahead.
Someone who used to work for Right to Life Central California, had the privilege of being on staff for 11 years. This is one of my favorite events, and I can tell you, anybody in the sound of my voice listening to this, I get to travel around the state and sometimes even around the country going to different events. No joke, this is one of the best pro-life events, not just in the state of California, but sincerely in the country. And also, I can say, in terms of the turnout, like if you've never been, if you're listening, you're just flipping through the dial and you're like, well, yeah, I'm pro-life, but is it just, it's going to be one of those things, you're going to have 200, maybe 300. No. This is like 1,000+ people. It's the best way to kick off the Christmas season in Fresno. John, we are doing for California Family Council, we're doing an event in Orange County the night before. I'm getting up on Friday morning and driving back on Monday the 1st so that I can attend this event.
Very good. So there you go. Go to rtlcc.org, click the link there to get all the sponsorship information, purchase tickets, all that jazz. It's all right there. And if Jonathan's going to drive all the way from Orange County for it, then you should come. All right. Okay, Jonathan, let's talk about the new Speaker of the House.
Woohoo!
So we do now have a new Speaker of the House, finally, after several failed attempts to elect.
What is the butchered Latin phrase that I tried to use? Habemus?
Habemus, first of all. Habemus papum. All right.
That's right.
So anyway, all right. So when a new pope is elected,
yes,
the cardinal goes out to the balcony and he says to everyone, Habemus papam, which means we have a pope. And so Jonathan tried to text me, Habemus
Speaktorum.
And he tried to say Speaker of the House in Latin, and I had to immediately correct him because it's Latin.
My declination or something was wrong.
You did not decline it correctly. Okay. So
for all you Latin nerds out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. So Mike Johnson, who's a member of the House of Representatives from Louisiana, has been picked as the new Speaker of the House. Now, Jonathan and I knew a little bit about Mike Johnson before, and I think we've talked about him on Right to Life Radio at some point in the past, favorably, not like we just talked about Mitt Romney last segment. We've talked about him favorably,
and we should clarify, John, just to put it in perspective. When we're saying all of this, it's very tricky in some cases for us to talk about.
And we're not endorsing anyone for office. We're not saying go vote for them. We're commenting on what they do in office to support or oppose pro-life policies. And that's all we're saying.
This segment in particular is a personalized segment. Yeah. So, and I will say freely. Let me take off my California Family Council hat. In my personal capacity, I personally donated money to Speaker Mike Johnson this weekend.
Way to go.
Because I am very excited. So I will tell you from a personal level, I can't vote for him. So I guess my endorsement, even if I said I was endorsing, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But from a personal level, if I'm putting my money where my mouth is, I believe so much in the policies that I think Speaker Johnson is going to promote that, I did chip in a few bucks over the weekend.
Right. So why are we so optimistic about him, at least from the pro-life perspective? So let's talk a little bit about his background. First of all, he's an attorney. I take a very, I think, minority viewpoint in this country that I actually think it's good to elect lawyers to public office. They're writing laws. So maybe someone who knows something about the law.
Maybe not a bad idea.
Elected as a lawyer. I have this personal opinion. I think every president should be a lawyer. I think it's as crazy to elect a non-lawyer president as it is to elect a non-lawyer DA. Like the DA enforces criminal laws. The president enforces all laws, all federal laws. So why are we hiring a non-lawyer anyway? Also, who has used the administrative state of the federal government better? Democrat presidents or Republican presidents the last 40 years? All the Democrat presidents have been lawyers. None of the Republican presidents have been. Who uses the federal government better? Anyway, that's a very it's a very John Girardi niche opinion that I think lawyers should be president. Anyway, so Mike Johnson's a lawyer, but he had been a lawyer for our favorite law firm.
That's right.
Alliance Defending Freedom.
That's right.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about him in that context,
So
Jonathan. I know you were really revved up for him.
Oh yeah, he has a pedigree that I think is unique. Like if you look at a lot of these other recent speakers of the House, whether it is Nancy Pelosi, who I mean literally had been working for that job for 30 plus years, or you look at Paul Ryan, you look at John Boehner, you look
McCarthy.
at Kevin McCarthy, the last several people who have been in those positions, they were like these. I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but in a lot of ways, they were kind of swampy creatures of Washington who had been there for a while. They
were very big on kind of like the fundraising side of everything, which is an important part of the speaker's job. But how dedicated were they to policy? How dedicated were they specifically to social conservative policy? I will say in Kevin McCarthy's defense,
yes,
he did care about certain kinds of pro-life issues that were very California specific that I give him credit for.
Which I'm
unfortunately, while he was majority leader under Paul Ryan, when Ryan was speaker, we sacrificed those things that McCarthy had been talking about and caring about on the altar of getting budgets done and stuff like that. So like the Conscience Protection Act is specifically the thing that McCarthy himself was trumpeting he was going to work on and didn't happen during the 2-year window when Trump was president and Paul Ryan was speaker and Republicans controlled the Senate.
Right.
Now, Johnson being a former ADF attorney, and ADF is a extremely conservative law firm that represents tons of pro-life clients, is one of the leading figures in the fight for the pro-life cause in the courts throughout the country. So, you don't decide to work for ADF if you are lukewarm on the abortion issue.
It's not exactly in traditional polite society. It's not exactly a resume booster.
Yeah. Well, and for him to have worked there, like the one thing I know about every single person at ADF is that they have an appropriate level of concern for the abortion issue, that they do genuinely think it is one of the key, absolute most important things.
Right.
I think if you asked, I'll just take Mitch McConnell. Okay.
Yep.
If you asked Mitch McConnell, list off the things you list. If you asked Mitch McConnell to list off his most important political priorities, he would at some point mention the right to life. But I think he would openly list it as like the 7th or 8th thing. I think he'd say, promoting free. He'd probably have some vague bromides about promoting freedom, and then something about taxes, and then something about regulation and business and small government, and then eventually he'd get to something about abortion. I don't think Mike Johnson would do that.
Right.
And I think his track record as a member of the House, as voting for pro-life legislation, promoting pro-life legislation, has been really good.
It has.
He was a member of the Louisiana legislature before
the House
that,
of Representatives.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah. And Louisiana had passed a lot of really good pro-life legislation. I think Johnson was elected to the House first in 2016.
Yes. Which, just to put it in perspective, so I was just pulling this up here to look. And this is why I also think it's a little bit weird, but I mean, in a good way. He first took office in January of 2017. Like you said, he was elected same year as President Trump. Kevin McCarthy, by comparison, was first elected in 2007.
Right.
So McCarthy had been there 10 full years longer.
Right.
So it's very rare for a congressman with such a short tenure in the House to be elected as the speaker.
Yeah.
But I think in a lot of cases, when some of my friends, Politico friends, were like, "Well, I've never even heard of this guy. How is he? How is he getting this role?" And I said, "Well, I think part of it is very few people, in contrast to Jim Jordan or Kevin McCarthy or certainly Matt Gaetz and Tom Emmer, who was a total pro-choice, squishy, swamp monster.
Yeah."
There were a lot of never Emmer or never McCarthy or never Jordan votes.
Yeah.
But in the case of Mike Johnson, everything that you've heard is, in addition to him being very solid on policy, like
everyone just
really
likes
had,
him.
Yeah, they didn't have like a bad word to say about the guy.
Yeah. He seems to me to be a personally decent person.
No hint of scandal. He's been married to his wife since 1999. They have 4
same
children.
wife?
Same
Okay.
wife.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. And it's actually interesting. There is this thing that they have in Louisiana. They're one of only 3 states. They have this type of wedding ceremony that is called a covenant marriage. I don't know if you've heard this.
Okay.
This is something that all of the, like, People magazine and other people were like, I can't believe he's this ultra conservative. Well, in Louisiana, like 20 plus years ago, Tony Perkins, of all people, from Family Research Council, they passed this law that said, hey, we really don't like the laws that are no-fault divorce and making it way easier to get divorced.
So it's kind of a different category of marriage.
It's kind of like the opposite of a prenuptial agreement. It's like saying, all right,
oh, wow.
you
So
basically
making
cannot,
it much more legally difficult
Correct.
to get out of. Huh.
Yes. So he and his wife said, you know what? We want to be locked in, and we want to say we're here, like, literally till death do us part.
Yeah, which, like, sounds crazy to, I think, people in the media and stuff, but
Yes.
for many, many Christians is like, well, yeah, that's kind of how most of us view marriage and what marriage should be.
Right.
So anyway, we are, needless to say, we are excited about the prospect of Speaker Johnson. I look forward to seeing how he's going to prioritize the life issue and how he's going to push this. So anyway, congratulations to Speaker Johnson. We're looking forward to seeing what you got. When we return, we'll wind up the show, a lawsuit against Planned Parenthood in Texas, how they could be liable for $1.8 billion. Next on Right to Life Radio. We're back with Right to Life Radio. All right, Jonathan, while California is, more or less dedicated to trying to shut down pro-life clinics, in Bizarro, California, a.k.a. Texas, the state government's trying to shut down Planned Parenthood. So we have this interesting story. Here's the Reuters headline. Planned Parenthood must face a trial over Texas Medicaid fraud claims. So Texas eliminated Planned Parenthood as a Medicaid eligible provider under their state's Medicaid program. Medicaid is federal. It's a joint federal and state funded health insurance program for lower income people. And the state has a role of saying this provider is qualified to provide care and get reimbursement from Medicaid. This provider is not. Texas said after it was revealed that Planned Parenthood was selling the body parts of aborted children, they said, sorry, Planned Parenthood, you're not eligible to get Medicaid reimbursement, to take Medicaid patients, bill insurance, and get payment. Well, Texas is arguing that Planned Parenthood had what was the exact number? I believe it was $17 million worth of fraudulent claims submitted to Medicaid, and they are therefore suing Planned Parenthood for these fraudulent claims, and the penalties for submitting these fraudulent claims for that amount could add up to $1.8 billion. Yes, that is billion with a B. That means 1,800 millions. Oof. So that's a lot of bucks. Very interested to see how this goes. Now, I doubt they're going to get the full 1.8 billion. I don't know. That sounds like that's the upper limit sticker shock number, and maybe we will settle that for
usually gets whittled down a little bit from there.
Yeah,
but
I would imagine so. But it is kind of interesting how, the California Attorney General is suing one pro-life clinic plus Heartbeat International for providing abortion pill reversal and saying, fraudulent business practices and false advertising about the abortion pill. Meanwhile, which is highly contested. Meanwhile, Planned Parenthood in Texas is apparently, allegedly anyway, having $16 million worth of fraudulent claims. And then that's why Texas is going after that. So the two things seem, slightly a little bit different in terms of severity. Well, folks, that'll do it for Right to Life Radio. We will see you next time on PowerTalk, rtlcc.org to help support us at our Christmas auction this year. Bye-bye.